Most people think wealth starts in their bank account. It doesn't. It starts in their mind. The thoughts you think, the beliefs you repeat, and the habits you build are either attracting money or repelling it. The truth is, you don't get rich by working harder. You get rich by thinking differently. Today, I'm going to show you how to reprogram your mind to become a magnet for abundance, because the life you want is already available. But your mindset has to be ready to receive it. Your mind is much like a field, rich, fertile, and capable of growing anything you plant within it. But like any field, it doesn't care what you plant. It will return weeds with just as much enthusiasm as it will return flowers. This is where most people make their mistake. They allow negative thoughts, scarcity beliefs, and self-doubt to take root without even realizing it. What they don't understand is that their mind is always listening. It's always working, always absorbing, and always producing results based on what has been sown. If you want to attract unlimited wealth, you must become intentional about what you feed your mind. Every thought is a seed, every belief is a root system, and every habit is the harvest. You cannot expect to plant thoughts of fear, lack, and limitation, and somehow reap a life of wealth, freedom, and prosperity. It just doesn't work that because nature doesn't play favorites. It simply delivers according to the laws it has been governed by. Wealthy people don't just think differently. They train their thinking. They protect their mental space like it's sacred ground. They don't let poverty-based conversations enter their mind without scrutiny. They don't tolerate the language of lack. Instead, they speak abundance, they think growth, and they surround themselves with people and environments that reinforce the wealth mindset. This isn't some kind of magic trick. It's discipline. And discipline, when practiced consistently, rewires the mind. Most people are not poor because they lack opportunity or talent. They are poor because they've accepted ideas that limit them. They've been told that money is hard to come by, that success is only for a chosen few, or that wealth is somehow wrong or corrupting. These ideas may have been passed down from parents, teachers, or the culture around them. But just because you inherited a belief doesn't mean you have to keep it. You can replant your mental field at any time. You can uproot the weeds and replace them with better seeds, seeds of possibility, seeds of action, and seeds of wealth. This doesn't happen by accident. It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your self-talk. What do you say to yourself when you're alone? What do you believe about your ability to earn, create, or attract money? Are those thoughts empowering, or are they limiting? Your answers to these questions will tell you what you've been planting in your mental field. Once you're aware, you can begin the real work, mental cultivation. Read books that teach abundance. Listen to ideas that challenge your scarcity mindset. Speak affirmations that train your thoughts to align with wealth. But don't stop at repetition. Get emotionally involved with what you say. Feel it. See yourself living it. The mind responds best when the emotion matches the vision. Surround yourself with people who are already thinking the way you want to. Think. Conversations are contagious. The language of wealth has a rhythm, a tone, and a structure. When you're around it long enough, it starts to become your new normal. The old thoughts begin to sound strange, even offensive. That's how you know you're changing. Training your mind is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong commitment. Just as a farmer doesn't plant once and walk away, you can't expect a few positive thoughts to undo years of conditioning. You must tend your thoughts daily. Pull the weeds, water the ideas that serve you, and expose your mind to the sunlight of better thinking. The wealth you attract externally will always be a reflection of the mindset you maintain internally. Think of your mind as the CEO of your life. If it operates from clarity, abundance, and vision, the rest of your life will follow. But if it's clouded by fear, cluttered with doubt, or infected by limiting beliefs, then no amount of hard work will create lasting wealth. The inner world must lead the outer. You don't get rich and then become abundant. You become abundant and then you get rich. The shift is internal before it's external. And once that shift is made, there is no limit to what can grow in. Your field wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who naturally draws it in. There's a powerful truth that often goes unnoticed. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. The world doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your energy, your beliefs, and the image you carry of yourself deep inside. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, who never gets a break, or who always comes up short, the world will reflect that back to you. But if you begin to see yourself as someone worthy of wealth, someone capable of producing, creating, and serving at a high level, the doors start to open. Wanting something is not enough. Many people want wealth, success, freedom, and opportunity, but wanting creates tension. It highlights the gap between where you are and where you desire to be. That gap will only close when you shift your identity. When you step into the role of someone who already embodies the traits that wealth is attracted to: discipline, confidence, vision, value, you stop chasing and you start becoming. The shift from desire to identity is the catalyst for transformation. This is why two people can walk into the same opportunity and leave with completely different outcomes. One sees lack, the other sees potential. One feels unworthy, the other feels aligned. It's not about luck or timing. It's about resonance. You will always attract what resonates with the dominant frequency of your mind and spirit. If you carry poverty thoughts, scarcity emotions, and fear-driven behavior, you'll find yourself surrounded by more situations that reinforce those patterns. On the other hand, when you raise your standards, your thoughts, and your actions, you start drawing in experiences that mirror the elevated version of you. Building wealth starts with building self-worth. Not the surface-level kind that relies on praise or external success, but the deep, internal knowing that you are valuable, that you have something to offer, and that your presence creates impact. This inner value must be nurtured, protected, and reinforced daily. You can't build an abundant life on a foundation of self-doubt. You have to believe at your core that you are someone who deserves to live well, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, and relationally. This process begins by examining the current identity you've been operating from. What kind of thoughts dominate your day? What type of self-talk is playing on repeat in your mind? Do you speak about money with fear, guilt, or shame? Or do you speak with clarity, confidence, and purpose? Most people never pause to audit these inner conversations, yet these silent scripts determine the trajectory of their lives. If you want to attract more wealth, you must first expand your capacity to hold it. That means becoming more responsible, more disciplined, more courageous. Wealth is not a destination, it's a reflection. It mirrors your mindset, your decisions, and the standard you hold yourself to every day. The higher the standard, the higher the return. This doesn't mean perfection, it means alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions are all pulling in the same direction, you begin to move with power. You can't fake this process. You can dress it up, talk the talk, and follow the trends, but the universe doesn't respond to surface-level intentions. It responds to authenticity. To truly attract wealth, you have to embody the habits, the discipline, and the thinking of someone who is already wealthy in mind and spirit. That might mean making tough choices, letting go of people, environments, or habits that no longer serve your vision. It may mean long periods of growth without applause, but the reward is transformation, not just the acquisition of wealth, but the elevation of your identity. The real secret is not to do more, but to become more. When you become more, you naturally attract more. You don't have to force it. The right people, the right opportunities, and the right breakthroughs begin to appear. Not because you were lucky, but because you became the kind of person they were looking for. Working on yourself is the most powerful investment you can ever make. While many people focus all their energy on their job, clocking in, grinding through the hours, chasing promotions, they often overlook the one area that multiplies every eye for effort: personal development. Your job may earn you a living, but developing yourself earns you a fortune. The real value you bring to any opportunity isn't just your time, it's your mindset, your creativity, your attitude, and your ability to solve problems. These qualities don't grow automatically. They must be nurtured intentionally. The truth is, you take yourself wherever you go. If you change jobs but stay the same person, your income may shift slightly, but your long-term results won't. The external world reflects the internal state. So if you want more freedom, more income, more options, you must become more. It's not just about working harder, it's about becoming more valuable. And value is built from the inside out. Think of it this way. Your income is rarely determined by the number of hours you work. It's determined by the value you bring to those hours. Two people can work the same job, in the same role for the same amount of time, and earn completely different results. The difference isn't the work itself, it's the level of thinking, preparation, and development they've brought into the room. That kind of value doesn't come from repetition. It comes from reflection, education, and growth. If you study the habits of highly successful individuals, one pattern is always clear. They are relentless about growth. They read constantly, learn consistently, and surround themselves with people who challenge their thinking. They don't rely on their job to define their future. They rely on the person they're becoming. This creates an unstoppable advantage. When you grow, everything around you eventually has to adjust. Your circumstances expand to match your capability. Opportunities begin to appear that were once invisible to you, not because the world changed, but because you did. This is the mindset shift that transforms careers, businesses, and lives. Instead of asking, how can I get more? The better question becomes, how can I become more? When you develop better communication skills, you become more persuasive and more influential. When you sharpen your emotional intelligence, you handle stress better and build stronger relationships. When you improve your decision-making, you avoid costly mistakes and make smarter moves. All of these upgrades directly translate into wealth, not just financial wealth, but personal and professional richness. The mistake many people make is waiting for their job or environment to change before they commit to change. They think if the economy shifts, if the company promotes them, if a client finally comes through, then things will improve. But that's the backward approach. Real power comes when you decide to grow regardless of your current conditions. You don't wait for circumstances to improve. You improve yourself and your circumstances follow. This isn't always easy. Growth requires effort, humility, and consistency. It often means facing your blind spots, admitting what you don't know, and staying open to feedback. But this kind of work pays dividends far beyond the present moment. It creates a foundation that can support bigger goals, deeper relationships, and greater financial abundance. Imagine if you treated your personal growth like your most important job. If you scheduled it, prioritized it, and measured it. If you applied the same urgency to learning as you do to meeting deadlines. Over time, this approach compounds. Skills accumulate, wisdom deepens, confidence builds, and eventually you find yourself stepping into opportunities that once felt out of reach, not because they changed, but because you did. The most successful people aren't the ones with the most talent or luck. They're the ones who took responsibility for their growth and made it non-negotiable. They worked harder on their vision, their habits, and their character than they did on any temporary task. And in doing so, they became irreplaceable. Discipline is the hidden force behind every dream that becomes reality. It's the bridge between vision and manifestation, between a good idea and a great life. Most people talk about what they want: more money, more success, more freedom. But very few are willing to pay the price required to earn it. The price isn't just effort, it's consistency. It's doing the right things, even when no one is watching, even when motivation fades, and even when progress feels slow. That's what separates those who wish from those who win. Attracting wealth isn't about affirmations alone. Speaking success into existence means nothing without the follow-through. Words create direction, but discipline creates results. You can write your goals on every wall, repeat affirmations every morning, and visualize your future every night. But if your habits don't align with that vision, your life won't either. Action is the currency of success, and discipline is how that action gets repeated until it builds momentum. The problem is that many people wait until they feel like doing the work. They rely on motivation, which is emotional and unreliable. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is a decision. It's the commitment to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. And every time you choose discipline over comfort, you train your mind to become stronger, more focused, and more resilient. That's how you attract wealth, not through momentary hype, but through habits that compound over time. Discipline builds trust in yourself. Every time you follow through on a promise you made to yourself, your confidence grows. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes, someone who can be counted on, especially by the person in the mirror. That self-trust is magnetic. It changes the way you walk, the way you talk, and the way you show up in the world. Opportunities are drawn to people who exude certainty, and certainty is built through disciplined action. One of the most misunderstood aspects of wealth is how predictable it becomes when your habits are right. If you consistently manage your time, your energy, your money, and your attention with discipline, wealth is almost inevitable. Not because you're lucky, but because you're dependable. When others are distracted, you're focused. When others quit, you keep going. When others spend, you invest. These small decisions, repeated daily, form the foundation of a life that becomes financially and emotionally rich. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. It's about bringing your actions into harmony with your highest intentions. When you say you want to build a business, but you scroll for hours instead of working on your craft, there's a disconnect. When you say you want financial freedom, but avoid budgeting, saving, or investing, the signals you're sending are mixed. Discipline corrects those contradictions, brings clarity to your goals and power to your decisions. One of the fastest ways to change your life is to track your disciplines. Write them down, monitor them, measure how consistently you follow through. This removes guesswork. You'll see clearly whether you're building momentum or losing it. Success leaves patterns, and discipline reveals those patterns with precision. The people who reach the highest levels of wealth aren't guessing their way there. They're tracking, adjusting, refining. There's also freedom in discipline. Most people think discipline is restrictive, but the truth is it sets you free. When you live undisciplined, you're constantly reacting to bills, to stress, to crisis. But when you live with discipline, you take control. You move from survival to strategy. You stop reacting and start creating. That shift from chaos to order gives you power. Power to create, to produce, and to attract wealth that isn't random, but rooted in real, repeatable effort. Every breakthrough, you're looking for sights on the other side of a disciplined habit you haven't mastered yet. Whether it's waking up earlier, studying longer, listening more, or executing faster, it's all within reach. But the key isn't more inspiration, it's more structure. With discipline, you no longer hope for wealth. You become the kind of person it naturally flows to.